Good afternoon. This is Reading for Charity again. In the big pile of reviews in one go that I'm doing, so these are all going to be relatively short. I'm trying to keep them to less than 10 minutes. Today is Turkish Gambit by Boris Akunin. The second of the Ernst van Doren mystery novels. Now, this one is more has Ernst more like he is described actually in the blurb as being, the Russian equivalent of Sherlock Holmes, which is how he is far more in this book. He's so much more kind of scheming and underhand, and using detective techniques to find who the bad guy is. In the Turkish Gambit, it's set actually in a war zone. When the Russians are fighting the Ottomans, the Turks. I can't remember if it's the Turks or the Ottomans. It's one or the other. One does become the other, and he's basically a military intelligence officer trying to find a traitor amongst a group of war correspondents for the press, the worldwide press, and it's a brilliant setup. It's a really really good setup. Because the situation where there's a spy and you've got all these interesting characters, and if you've ever watched the war correspondents on TV or read them in newspapers, they are all pretty much interesting characters. Interesting as in inverted commas. Yes, they're very interesting, but some of them are also super dodgy, and some of them are obviously spies. And his role in the book is to uncover the spy, stop the bad things from happening, and and basically save the day. Now the audience proxy in this is it's a young woman whose name I now can't remember. Varya, I think it is. Yes, and she's basically the audience proxy. She's the she's not the best written woman in the book. She's not the best written woman. Full stop. She's a little bit kind of how to put this gently. She's relatively helpless while claiming to be, a strong, independent woman who don't need no man kind of style. I'm not sure that Akunin writes his women particularly well, and that was also a little bit of a problem in the Winter Queen, in that all the women in there were relatively stereotypical. There was the matronly one, there was the wanton slattern, and really that was, I know, the dusky maiden, not the dusky maiden, the virginal maiden, and those were really the three in the book, and that was it. In this one, the only real woman in it is the strong, independent woman who, in actuality, is very flattered by male attention, has her head turned, and which forms part of the plot. So that's the he has a slight problem writing with women. From what I've seen so far, that might change in later books. I've only read these two, but she definitely could be written even as an audience proxy, and therefore needs to be innocent of matters. She's a little bit too at odds with how he wants her to be. So she's without going into the character any further, that's just that. The actual setup for the rest of the story is good. It's actually got a little bit of a tie-in from the Winter Queen, which actually makes the events in Winter Queen a little bit more like Spectre from James Bond. Van Doren at the end of this book is kind of like a combination of James Bond and Sherlock Holmes. He's half and half. So he's fighting an international group or international conspiracy to overthrow the world and establish a new world order, combined with the low level detecting of clues that you get from Sherlock Holmes. It's a really really nice combination which I enjoy. I really really like. And Van Doren in this one is far more like the kind of Sherlock Holmes that the back of the books kind of describe him to be. He carefully tracks down the clues. He carefully works out who the bad guy is, but for the most part of the book, he's almost like a peripheral character. Varya is the main character of the novel, and Van Doren is the lesser character. It's about the fact that it's his book and his name on it, and he's the one that in the end uncovers the traitor and make sure everything works out the way it's supposed to. Everything is seen through Varya's viewpoint, and which is good because that allows some of the mystery to continue. So when Van Doren is setting up the trap, you as the reader don't see the trap. Well, you do, because both the twist in the Winter Queen and the twist in Turkish Gambit is really easy to see. They're obvious twists, which makes you as the reader feel good. But when Van Doren's setting up the trap, it's not supposed to be visible to you, the author. It's supposed to come as you, the reader. It's supposed to come as a surprise to you, as well as Varya and the bad guy, because Van Doren wants it to be that way. Despite the fact that the twist is obvious and can be seen, and the trap can be seen as well, that doesn't really matter. But that's the reason why Varya is the viewpoint rather than Van Doren. So Van Doren can be the Holmes / James Bond / Batman type character, which is good. It works. It works nicely. I don't really have too many other criticisms with this book. I was expecting more of the same from the Winter Queen, and it wasn't. It was very much a different sort of period, different sort of setup, which was great. It was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed this book. And I want to read all the other ones. I think only one more has been translated so far. No, there's 4 that have been translated. The Winter Queen, Murder on the Leviathan, which is totally going to be Murder on the Orient Express. I want to read that one too. Turkish Gambit, which is this one, and The Death of Achilles, which I don't know anything about. But I think there's something like 16 of them or 8 of them. There's a bigger number than have been translated. I really want to read the other ones because they are fantastic. So I'm really hoping that they're going to be translated. But yes, should you read this book? Should you read Turkish Gambit? Yes, you definitely should. You do not need to have read The Winter Queen to read this book. It helps because some of the events of The Winter Queen are referenced in this book, so to have the background be useful, but it's not necessary. If you are going to go read this book, though, you should read Winter Queen first because they're both brilliant. Definitely, this is a thumbs up for this book. It was awesome. So, yes, right. Keep this route going. So, next up will be The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. That'll be the next one I'm going to review. So, until 5 minutes time, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. This has been Reading for Charity. Good afternoon.